I'm all thirsty. You're drinking water.
Ready when you are. Speaking of thirsty, tell your wife to get her designs to me. She wanted me to make a runner of those bottles with her R and F information on it.
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh.
She said she would get back to me, but she hadn't yet.
Actually, you know what, Wes? I think I'm going to order one from you, too. For my wife.
Really?
Yeah, with her logo. I think I'll surprise her with it. I'll send you the vector or whatever.
What color bottle would you prefer? Have a couple choices or what?
If you have yellow, that might work.
I haven't tried yellow. I'm not sure how if the silver will show up through yellow really well. I'm not sure.
You know what? I'll send you the logo and then you can kind of help advise.
Okay.
I trust your artistic eye. All right, you guys set?
Indeed. We're streaming. We're good.
If I remember correctly, we're on 103.
That's what I got.
Mm-hmm. It's easier to keep track now.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. All right. Hello, Internet. You are listening to the Making Geeks podcast, the podcast for makers, dads, and geeks. This is episode 103. And it's once again my pleasure to introduce my co-host, starting with Mr. Josh Price.
Hello, everybody.
And, of course, Mr. Mark O'Keefe.
Hey, what's going on?
Superstar Wes Swain.
Superstar.
And I am Shawn Jolliver.
Now smell your armpits.
Yeah. That's what I was referencing.
And there's the stinger. All right.
Happy birthday to Wes.
Happy birthday. Well, a couple days late, but yeah.
Thanks.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
So wait, when you're June 11th?
Yep.
How old are you now?
29.
Mm-hmm.
39.
Oh, so you're a year and 4 days older than me.
Yep. You're actually not too far behind me. I thought you were a little bit younger than that, actually.
Me?
No, Wes.
Oh, thanks. I guess.
That youthful look is deceiving.
It used to be more convincing when I had more hair.
That's when you let that long part there grow out more. You just kind of like comb it down a little bit more.
That's right.
The only reason I grow my hair out now is to help cover the bald spots. That's it. It's not even for fashion anymore.
Yeah, I think if I shave my goatee a little bit differently, we could go for twins. I'm looking at the feed here.
Yeah, my hair keeps moving away from my forehead.
You guys are old.
Hush, you.
Shut up, baby face.
What have you guys been up to? We haven't talked a whole lot this last week.
Ugh.
What happened this last week?
Things raced by. I can't believe it's already Thursday.
We hit 100 episodes, and apparently things just went into warp speed.
It's true.
It did. We were racing and stressing about getting everything done for Maker Faire, and then really didn't have any sort of plan for what happens after. And you're kind of like,
line.
Okay, I guess we're still recording. What's next? And just kind of like business as usual. I guess.
It's like in Neverending Story 2. Like we had so many finite little orbs, and then 100 hit, and a little orb fell, and then we just stare at the ball.
See,
we gotta put more orbs in here.
I remember that reference, but I have no idea what you're talking about. I remember the little orbs, and I remember a container of them. I have no references to what was going on in that movie. Was that his soul or something?
Probably.
I gotta go rewatch that.
You're just making me think of Inside Out. I can't make any other reference.
That was such a good movie.
Gotta watch that too.
It was.
That was a super underrated movie. So what you guys doing this week? Even though it flew by.
This is my first full week off from work, and I almost want to go back to work.
Wow.
Really?
It's weird. Because I'm home, and even though my kids are in summer school, I'm getting roped into all these other projects that my wife has going on. So everything that I had planned nothing's getting done. I had like 5 videos laid out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Nope. I am standing stupid portraits that we're selling at these vendor events, and I'm tired of it already.
How are this going? How'd the
They're
last one
they're
go?
going pretty
well?
good. I mean, we're getting a lot of additional work. It's not that we're selling that many physical units at these vendor events, but we're getting other work and custom work as a result of it, with handing out business cards
That's cool.
and basically showing what we've been doing. And there's a huge thing going on right now because my wife's home country, Nicaragua, is having some pretty big issues right now. So we're doing a run of those carvings. I have like the outline of the country with kind of like a pulse going through it, and we're donating a proceeds of what we sold them for. And so we're actually moving quite a few of those right now.
Cool.
Yep.
That's neat.
Yeah, I'm tired of the sander, and I'm tired of doing some of those now. I want to get to some of my projects. So I guess I'm just complaining. But all right, so what are you guys up to?
I've been messing with my laser cutter a little bit more. I created 2 custom water bottles for Grant's preschool teachers at the end of the year, and gave those to them. And they had like an apple outline with the logo of the preschool in the middle, inside of the outlined apple, and it said like, "Thank you, Mrs. Blank," and then it said like the year, 2017 to 18, and then all throughout the rest of the bottle, I scattered the first names of every kid in the class and used like a different font for the girls and boys, and kind of twisted them and turned them to make it look kind of like confetti of names, sort of thing, and gave them to the teachers, and they were really surprisingly touched by them, and it was pretty cool. And then I get an email a couple days later from the director of the preschool, and I thought, like, with just the subject, when I saw it on my phone, I thought she was going to give me some heck about using their logo. And come to find out, she wanted to order 3 of them for Father's Day of similar custom stuff. And so I've been drumming up custom laser engraved water bottles, or I guess they're tumblers now, with one of them was like for her, I forget the relationships, but one of them was a person that restored VW buses, or he has one of the old ones in his garage or something, and they wanted to use that somehow. Asked if there's like interest they had to sort of integrate them into like the logo or the design, because she said obviously you can't use an apple, but she wants something more than just dad or pop or whatever. And so I had a clip art image of a VW bus, and I put dad kind of on the side going into perspective along the side of the bus, and it looked kind of cool. And then I had that pretty big and scattered the names of their children around, and then I did like her father-in-law, and then like the grandfathers, like 3 parental figures, and each one had their own custom. One of them was a fishing clip art of a kid fishing, and he was like sitting on top of the first 3 letters of Papa, and A was like hanging from the end of the fishing line, kind of like at an angle, like the kid was reeling in the A. It was kind of like swinging. That looked kind of cool. And
That's cool.
Again, with the names scattered around. So I've been having fun doing like custom kind of graphics, which usually this stuff really frustrates me if it's for like a company. But if it's for like more free-form stuff, where I can kind of be a little more creative, then I tend to like it. And I actually finished those up and gave those to her today, and got some income, so that's always good.
Nice.
So maybe
Are you making some money off these?
yeah, I've pretty much settled on $20 plus the cost of the cup or the tumbler. And so she found some on Amazon. This is the thing that made me angry, is that I looked at the dimensions of this particular tumblers, and I told her they have to be under 3 inches in diameter for it to fit in my current laser engraver. And I had the link and looked at the one she chose, and in the description on Amazon it said 2.8 inches was the diameter for the mouth of the thing. And I get them, open them up, and they're way too big. I measured them with the calipers, it was like 3.5. Like, what? And there was no measurement that equaled the 2.8 inches that were listed on the listing.
It wasn't the inner diameter?
Now I tried that too.
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't know where this came from. So instead of returning $30 worth of bottles and missing an order, I knew I was going to eventually cut the bottom out of my laser engraver, so I figured now was the time. So I got a nibbler from my buddy RWR Solutions on Instagram, and he's a local maker. You guys met Robert, and he's like, yeah, that thing will cut the bottom out of that. You'll just have little moon-shaped shards of metal everywhere afterwards. So I did that, and I taped everything up first so it wouldn't get all into the electronics and in the mirrors and whatnot, and stood the thing up on its side and cut the bottom out like a crazy surgeon. So not perfectly square, but I'll be able to clean it up, and now I can put bigger stuff on there, and it's super sketchy. So I have like the whole thing sitting on 2 2x4s. The openings, open to the plastic table it's sitting on, and you got a 40-watt laser shooting down. I'm like, I could see where this could cause problems. So I got some giant big pieces of wood under there temporarily, and I'm gonna eventually put like a pan of metal, in there, and have like it rolled over into the hole that's cut out to kind of enclose it all, keep it all semi-safe. But
now Wes is officially taking orders on engraving whiskey barrels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of par for the course for that ghetto Chinese laser.
Oh, dude, it's so sketch. It adds
But
to the sketch factor.
To be fair, you are doing some really good stuff with some really crap equipment.
I'm pleasantly surprised with this thing. It keeps surprising me, even though there's things that I keep noticing that add to the sketch factor. Like there's 2 outlets that are on the back of the machine that like are powered when the machine's powered on, so you can power the fan, which is a separate device, and you can power the water pump that pumps the cold water up out of the bucket into the laser tube and back. And one of them, if you just wiggle it just in the wrong way, it doesn't work. And I'm like, and like the outlet's sort of coming out. And I started reading some articles. They're like, yeah, we don't use those anymore for various reasons. I'm like, yeah. And
those are Sparky and Bernie.
exactly. Yeah, even the little plugs look kind of funky too. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's like a plug, but it doesn't have like the holes that you typically have in the prongs. Just like little weird stuff like that.
I don't know what those holes do anyway.
I don't know what they do either, but having them not there, it just looks like aluminum pieces. Like it's super weird.
It is.
I think those
it is unsettling.
Those holes are either to create like a little dip, because on the inside of the plug it's just like these 2 little fins. So I think as the plug goes into it, it might either be something for it to like kind of latch onto,
like a detent.
Yeah, or it's material saving, because
can't see how that would. They're still
to make it.
Yeah, you'd have to have a machine to purposely punch that hole. That's an extra step.
Yeah, it's little things like that. It's just like little weird stuff. I'm like,
Have you ever seen those videos of like a whole group in Africa? They'll take like old fire extinguishers, they take them apart, unroll them, beat the metal out, and then make like new cookware out of them. I just picture the same thing happening, like making your laser like out of this old stuff. They're like in a village, folding it and beating it and selling it on eBay.
Some dude like folding Wrigley's gum wrappers, and
we don't have any more of this
inside the
stuff. Gotta
plastic
switch
of
to
a
these parts.
oh,
So
man.
you've seen the videos where they're like shining aluminum foil balls to where you can't tell they're aluminum foil anymore. That's what they're making all the parts for the laser from. It's just all aluminum foil.
It's all Reynolds wrap.
But I would still recommend getting one. It's it's a fire hazard. You might die using it, and there's a million ways to hurt yourself. But it's great.
Because of the stuff that my wife and I have been doing, she's looking at doing a laser as like the next step of her business. And she goes, "Oh, yeah, I saw the Wes got. We should get one like that." I'm like, "Do you know what Wes did to get that thing working the way it's supposed to be working? I don't think you want to mess with it that way." But yeah,
I would still recommend it for a person of our like-mindedness. I would say it's worth it. If you're not very attentive and not even a little bit technically minded, then I would say steer clear, because a lot of the safety features you get in the more expensive ones, that's where a lot of the cost savings come from. They don't put them in this machine.
So it's like the beat up pickup truck of laser cutters.
Exactly.
You got to give it some love. You got to know you have to want to have that truck and want to maintain it.
Yeah.
And be proud to drive it around with a giant hole in the bottom.
That's right. Exactly. You can see the road underneath.
Wes's laser cutter has Fred Flintstone brakes.
It's cool though. You can engrave any surface now.
I can literally
That's an
set the
opportunity.
laser on something that wants to be engraved.
You can give people laser tattoos.
Josh, what was that one video that you did where you used a part of like one of your kids' toys to fix your planer?
Oh, yeah,
It was
built.
a Lego tread.
Wes is going to open up his laser and see that's what's moving the head of the laser.
It's crazy.
So, Josh, what have you been up to?
We had to go to a sponsored event this weekend. I was at a college in Nashville. I guess I can't say too much about the video because I don't know when it's coming out. But we built a thing, had to take it down to this like adult education college, and worked with some electrical technician students, and like they put additional kind of cool, neat, automated electronic stuff inside it. So it was a collaboration project. That was kind of neat. It was interesting. I don't know. The project manager in me was super irritated because it's a collaboration, and we honestly did not talk to the people that we were collaborating with until a day before we were supposed to show up. And so everything took a lot longer just because, like, this was the component you guys chose to use. Like, that thing is huge. And it's an electrical kind of school, and so they were using analog components rather than, the microcontrollers and stuff that, we would typically use. They're really small and lightweight and inexpensive, and it was a long day. Got to hang out with Dustin from Smarter Every Day. That was kind of fun. He's a really nice guy.
It's on my bucket list. Is that weird to have meeting somebody on your bucket list?
Not at all.
Be prepared to answer questions. He's very inquisitive. And it was neat because he would ask a question and he would just be like, he would really want to know the answer. But I feel like he would have his addition to that statement made up after like the first two words of your sentence. And so it was like, I know you didn't ask this, but I'm going to respond this way. Or I know you said this, but I'm going to do this. It's like a certain word in a sentence would trigger him and they would go on a different thought. But it was a super nice guy. What else have we been doing? I don't know. We're ahead, which is kind of nice. And we're just like dealing with sponsor stuff. So we feel like we're ahead because we got a bunch of videos done. But like which sponsor is attached to which project, and they want things done in a certain time frame. And so we're waiting on things from them. And so it's the part of YouTubeology that I didn't really fully understand. People are like, oh, you make a bookcase, you take pictures of your bookcase, you put it on the internet, and then you get paid. But there's all the behind the scenes stuff and how to coordinate all that and contractual obligations and timing and just another layer of complexity that just kind of gets, I mean, it's completely necessary because I like getting paid, but it's kind of gets in the way. But yeah, I got Snapships. I know we've been talking about Snapships on this show. I've been talking to Scott, who's the co-founder from Snapships, and he was talking about sending out like a starter kit, or not a starter kit, a media kit. And it says in a letter, like, this is the one and only media kit in existence. So like, don't steal it or lose it. But we busted it out today. I got it in the mail, and Deacon and I were playing with it, and I put a bunch of pictures all over my Instagram because those things are super fun.
You know what would be funny is you have like a finite, let's say there's 40 pieces in the set. You look at what the pieces look like. You design 2 of your own and throw them in the box and send them to the next person. Each person contributes like a couple, and then by the time they get them back, they're like, what?
I love it.
That's a brilliant idea.
Come on. Send it. Come on.
I love it.
I like
And
it.
I think that's even better because we asked him for like can the 4 of us try these out? And they're still a really small company. They don't have injection molding, so all these pieces are 3D printed. So this is a pre-Kickstarter sample media kit. And I think they want me to send them to you guys. It's still unclear at this point, but if that's what's happening, that absolutely needs to happen.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Mm.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I've already called my brother-in-law to have him come over here and film it. Set up lighting and bring his camera and
Nice.
try to do it right.
Yeah, Deacon and I did an Instagram story, so I highlighted the one story. So if you guys don't know what snapships are, you go on over to the PI Workshop, my Instagram page, or look up snapships.com. They don't have a lot of kind of video on there. They have some. But go in there and you can see my son and I kind of playing around with them and getting the first impressions. But again, the ones that we have are like the pre-release models that are 3D printed. But even then, they're still super cool.
Does the game functionality work yet? Do you have access to that?
I don't. He said it's really easy once you get it started. But that was kind of like, that was more than he wanted to do.
Is that something you're able to do? Like in the stuff they sent you? Do you have to download like an app or something? Or is that not part of the media?
He told me beforehand. Yeah, he told me beforehand he wasn't going to include the little cube thing, the little QR cube. He wrote me in an email why, and it was like, oh, okay, that's fine. He said once you get all the stuff up and running, it's fine, because I don't think it's an openly available app.
Right, I figured as much.
So for them to send me the app and then get that up and running, it's like once it's up and running, he says really easy. But so I was like, yeah, whatever, don't worry about it. I just want to play with toys. So they're on my kitchen table, and I was debating whether or not I can just play with them while we're talking tonight, but I thought that was rude and of bad form. So I left them in the other room.
And now he's jonesing.
I'm just looking at the pictures because I don't remember what I made. We made so many so quickly, and each one of them I thought was amazing for its own reason. So I just started taking pictures of all the ones that we made.
That gave me an idea for something I'll pitch you guys later. I'll try to remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So how about you, Mark?
I've been on repair duty this week, other than the one thing I did playing with my gauges. Repairing a washing machine and baby gates and lawnmowers. That's been pretty much it. I've been little baby steps with my my 3D printing enclosure. I was really happy with that horrifyingly electric wired test footage I put out on my Instagram. But it all worked. It read. The voltage didn't drop, so I didn't do anything wrong. The gauges look like they read properly. So that's cool. I have a switch coming this week. I should have my instrument panel created hopefully within the next week. And then I just got to make a door and wire everything up in the bottom. That's about it.
Cool.
Sounds good.
I've been trying to branch out. Not really branch out, but keep 3D printing. I haven't done it in a while. So I tried to print Matter Hacker's little astronaut, Phil, and I have failed constantly. It's either I could not get it to stick, or the filament seems to be under extruding. I've tried 6 different times to print this thing, and it's failed every time. So then that's the proof I have here at the house. And so I was at Bob's, and he has the Ultimaker 3 that does the dual material. I'm like, I want to do a dual material thing. And it's failed again. So it should be printing right now. And I keep like, oh, maybe it was this, or oh, maybe it was this, or oh, maybe it was this. And I'm hoping I can go in tomorrow morning and it'll actually be done. And it won't just be a big ball of nastiness as its 7 predecessors were.
Can't remote into the Octave print and check on it and cancel it?
That one is network adapted, but I'm not on his network right now. Yeah. So, what are we talking about today, old guys?
How you're no longer on the podcast, whippersnapper. Get out.
Well, we were talking about things to discuss, and I thought it was funny. My dad wrote me a message today that was asking the what's the website for my blog? And I'm like, my blog? I'm like, what are you talking about, my blog? So I gave him the workshop's website, and then I gave him I Like to Make Stuff's website because maybe he got that confused and doesn't understand what I do now. And he was like, yeah, I was going to start listening. I'm like, listening? I was like, maybe he means the podcast. I gave him makinggeeks.com. I was like, this is the podcast. He's like, yeah, that's it. I'm like, okay. I don't know if it's just vernacular that he doesn't understand. Podcast versus blog or internet radio or whatever people are understanding it now. But it was fun to laugh at my dad and his goofy stories with technology. And then we all started kind of pitching in our family's little nuance, like hang-ups with the modern world. So I think we're going to talk about just goofy ways that our family embarrasses us when it talks about the things that we enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, doing all this has kind of become just run of the mill for us, and we've been watching people do it for a while, and we've actually all been doing it in one way or the other for a couple of years now. But it still seems like rocket science to some friends and family at times. And I remember I was actually talking to my grandma about 2-3 weeks ago, who's 92. And I was talking about YouTube and the fact that people can make money off of it, people are making a living off of it, and it kind of just blew her mind because she had no idea that the thing was possible. And I would kind of expect that from her. But my parents kind of treat it the same way. You know, my parents are, you know, in their 60s, and they've been in Southern California for their whole lives. But they act like they have these Midwest sensibilities. So, you know, they almost act like they'd rather be out in the middle of the fields farming than anything dealing with like computers. You know, other than my dad working the TV and learning how to work the remote, he doesn't care about anything else electronic. He really doesn't.
Do you guys still have to reset passwords and mess with routers and things when you have to deal with your extended family?
Yes.
Mark, I imagine that was kind of overtime for you.
Oh yeah. That was everything's broke. Come over right now. I'm like, no, live with it for a day. I'll be over tomorrow. Yeah, that was a nightmare because like it's funny too because my mom, I remember when we first got our computer, she crashed it so many times and we couldn't afford to get it repaired. So she figured out how to completely reinstall Windows from scratch and get it back up and running. And then, like, her knowledge on that was well beyond mine. And then slowly they just crossed. And then she's like, can you fix it? I was like, Mom, you used to redo Windows. Why do I have to come over and install your mouse? You know, just, like, simple stuff like that. And like, even my sister, I've taught her 100 times how to reset the whole system. And finally they do it on their own. But I think it was just because out of necessity, because I was like, I can't come over right now, and I don't know when I can come over. You got to reset it yourself.
Remember, we got my dad. No, he had a smart TV, and I think he bought a smart TV by accident, because he was complaining like that his cable bill was expensive. I'm like, well, get rid of TV. He's like, well, what am I gonna watch? I was like, man, watch Netflix and stuff. He was like, oh, I don't know any of that. And my dad is not old. He might be turning 60 like this year. He just always has had this like things are simpler kind of mentality. And if something is complicated or if it's new. When I was in school, we had to make our own like coat of arms for our family. Like you draw up your own based on things that you liked or whatever. And I'm like, Dad, we need a motto for our family. And so he looked up, I don't know how he looked it up, but he looked up how to say change is bad in Latin, and he wanted me to put that on our family crest. No, he's like, alter de mal. And I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, change is bad. So, and I was like, dude, you got to get some Netflix, man. It's awesome. And so I made him like an account on our account. And I was like, you can watch all of West Wing. You can watch all, like, you get it on Hulu. You can watch ER. He's like, you can watch all the shows that you like to watch, all of them in a dump all at one time. And he's like, well, that sounds neat. and he just doesn't do it. Which, whatever, it's watching TV, but just like, my TV can do what? I'm like, yeah, man, you can watch YouTube on your TV. He's like, what? And you just gotta like step by step by step. And then the next time I came over and he was trying to like do something on his phone, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm watching YouTube. I'm like, you can watch that on your TV. He's like, it stopped working. So I just don't. I'm like,
Yeah,
all right.
Catherine's parents have a smart TV, and man, that thing is a pain to use. Like the YouTube app is always so slow, and it's just everything. Like, I think this is like the second or third one. Yeah,
we're not at the point where the TV itself is good yet. If like Roku is fine, Apple TV is fine, Chromecasts are fine. Any smart TV I've ever come across is always the biggest piece of garbage when it comes to interface and software. Yeah, the processing power is garbage.
Yeah, like they've had so many issues, like it loses connection, or it says there's a bad signal, or Netflix will update their software, and whoever the manufacturer is doesn't have an update to keep up with whatever new feature Netflix is doing behind the scenes, so it just stops working. Because you got to update the viewer, not just with sending the stuff. So it's just more trouble than it's worth a lot of times. And when I worked at Best Buy, I used to get contacted more by friends and family in regards to like computer repair stuff and anything. Like even I would build computers a lot for my father-in-law and some sister-in-laws and stuff like that. I would build computers for them, and that's kind of gone to the wayside. I think a lot of them have started using more tablets and using their phones for more interaction, so I haven't really done that in a number of years. And I don't know, they got to be a pain a little bit for a while, but
it's actually that's what I would tell customers, because they'd be like, oh, my computer is really slow, and it's like, what do you do on it? Is all you do is email and websites? Yeah, pretty much. Just go get an Apple. Just go get a tablet. It'll do everything you need to do. You can take it wherever you want. It's not going to take up the space, and you don't have to deal with any of this stuff. Oh, that's great.
Right.
I think computer interfaces are simpler than they've ever been before. And you have 3-year-olds that can use these devices just fine. And I think that's a testament to how simple things are at this point. And it's just as easy to stream from your phone or iPad, or whatever device you have, to your TV than having something else even take care of it. I don't think most people even have use for like a full computer anymore.
Well, no, I'll defend my dad on that point. Like he's got a smartphone. It's an Android phone, so already it seems foreign to me. But I think it's like a Virgin Mobile or whatever it is. And the phone like came preloaded with just a bunch of crap all over it.
Yep.
And he goes to the internet by like a little icon that just says internet. And it goes to, it's like you had a flip phone, and how like you would like look up movie stuff and it would go through this one kind of portal. It didn't look like the internet. Like it looks like that. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, you just got to Google this thing. And so he pulls it up and he's like, it's not working. I'm like, what is not working? Like, we were trying, it was so funny. We were trying to hook up the YouTube app on his TV. And so you had to go to youtube.com/activate. And I'm like, just type that in. And he was like typing it into like a search bar on Virgin Mobile's whatever stupid interface thing. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm interneting. He might not have said those words exactly. So I was like, oh my God, man. I was like, this is stereotypical right here. And so I had to like download Chrome, had to explain to him what Chrome was. And I'm like, you are not a dumb person. Like, how he uses a computer for work all the time. Smartest man I know. And it's a new piece of technology that he has to figure out. And once it works in that weird kind of way, that's the only way that technology will work. And so I had to try to reprogram his thinking on this garbage phone with all these just crappy applications all over the place. It just cluttered it up. And it made it difficult to use the phone like as a browser. And I'm like, what are these apps like? I was like, are all Apple or are all Android devices like this? Because that's just further solidifying like my love for my iPhone, or maybe it's just they're
It
trying
does
to.
depend on the company.
Because that was ridiculous. He's like, I just want to play solitaire.
What's going to be that technology when we're his age that we're just going to be like, I'd rather use a keyboard and mouse. I'm not using this neural net interface. What is this garbage? What is it going to be?
I actually don't think we're going to have the same issue. I don't think we're going to have the same issue in terms of how to use things. I think the issue is going to be wanting to use them. We're seeing a reason to use them, like
Same
Snapchat.
argument, right?
No, I think it's a little bit different because I could figure out Snapchat. I just don't care to use it.
I mean, Josh's dad could figure out Netflix. He just doesn't care to use it.
It's just more steps than he wants to take, I guess, to get to whatever it is.
Right, so it's not a matter of ability. It's a matter of, do I want to be troubled by this thing?
Yeah. So I have a more crazy, like, fiction-based idea on this concept. Is that I think that there is going to be some terrible thing that happens in the world that is going to set everybody back. And the next generation may not have these things.
Are you talking about the electromagnetic bomb that will wipe out all electronics on the planet?
Whatever it happens to be. I think that there is something that could happen or may happen or whatever. Or maybe it's just a fun movie that I'm having playing in my head as you were talking about this. That like the younger generation is going to look at us as the lazy generation because they're going to have to do everything manually. And we're going to be like, oh my God, it would just be so much easier if I could just ask Alexa to do the thing. And they're going to be like, you spoiled old people.
What? I got to dial a phone? How do I dial?
I don't remember my numbers.
Hello, operator. Connect me to Josh, please. Thank you.
Yeah, like that millennial kind of notion that people whine about, how everything is given to them and they don't have to do anything. Like, it's going to be that, but they're going to have that same attitude toward us. I'm like, God, Grandpa, you're so lazy.
Well, you know what's funny is technically, Josh, by definition, you are a millennial, but you are not.
What is that definition?
The definition of millennial has to do with when you were born. And based on your age, you are classified as a millennial. But the difference with you being is that for whatever reason, either your upbringing or your time in the Army, you didn't have or didn't develop the same stereotypes that most millennials kind of like embrace.
Well, wasn't that I read?
So like my generation, I'm called a Zennial. I'm in between because I grew up in an analog world, but it wasn't until, I was almost an adult that digital started, taking over.
For the record, I will be 34 in July.
Yeah, you're still a millennial.
I think
whatever.
I think technically by those numbers though, like me and Wes were millennials too.
I don't know who sets the
It's
standard.
fluid.
Barely.
It's whoever you ask. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, no. There's actually things that have, in the past, wars used to define generations. I've taught classes on this. I've had to look into it. The numbers aren't concrete or finite, and that's why you guys have this kind of like weird notion of it, of almost like the sliding scale. But there's a little bit of overlap, because by some people's definition, they want to call me a millennial, but I'm not. I'm in between, because of when I was born in '77.
I always thought we were Gen X.
Yeah. But Gen X is actually supposed to be even before that. That's why they came up with that new term Zennial, because the Zennials were born or have a foot in both worlds.
I think we gotta stop labeling stuff.
And then it was Gen
That's the
Y.
first
What
time
happened to that?
Yeah, Pepsi said I was Generation Y. So that's the
Millennial
first I've
didn't
ever
exist
heard
yet,
the
so they
term
didn't.
Zennial.
Yeah, the Gen
Never heard
Y is
of it.
like, well, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do that?
I'll belong to that category.
Yeah. Crap, I forgot why I was even bringing that up.
To rail against millennials? I don't know. That's what old people do.
Check.
1 year difference, Wes. 1 year difference. I still have a little bit more hair, so I'll take that as a win.
Burn.
Yeah.
Okay, but what thing is
Josh, what were you saying
is going to
before,
be
though? Because
our crook? Well, I was saying how like people crap on millennials. I think after whatever stupid mythical thing that I'm making up in my head happens, that sets us all back a generation. Our grandkids are going to have to like plow the field and dust off the encyclopedias, and then they'll whine at us for being lazy because we don't want to go back to that.
Is that a movie concept or no? Like that whole
Huh?
like plot device of what you just
The
described.
game Fallout.
It sounds like it could be Idiocracy too.
Because then they could like raid all the secondhand stores and the Goodwills to buy all the crap that we return because it's like 20 years old and it's like shitty. But then it's like extra useful to them because whatever technology it was based on is like the standard then. So like they
They'll go
buy
to-
all the old rotary phones and all the, you know.
Go to
kinda
Cracker
interesting
Barrel
concept.
and take all the stuff off
Yeah,
the
yeah,
walls.
it's an interesting concept.
All the hipsters are already set because they own the typewriters.
That's right.
Like, why is this plow on the wall of this restaurant?
They raid. They
Yeah,
do like riots just to pull the tchotchkes off the walls.
It'd actually be like an interesting experiment just to walk around your house and kind of like mentally eliminate everything that would not have been able to exist, say, 20 years ago. You know, you'd have a TV, but the TV would be different. You know,
For
you'd
the
have
record,
cable.
20 years ago is not as long as you're thinking in your head. Because I just did the math and went, oh my god, that's
God damn
terrible.
it, Josh, you're right. So, say what? 30
That was
years ago.
1998.
I've been doing that math for the last couple months because I have one of my high school reunions this Saturday. 20 years.
Yeah, I never went.
To high
What's up,
school?
whatever-
Man,
whatever-
you should
whatever
have
with that.
tried it. They didn't have high
Yeah.
school back then when you went to school?
Stone tablets in the village, so smart ass.
No, didn't you have abacuses?
One friggin' year. One friggin' year difference. But walk around your house and you know, say, all right, so what would be like a cutting off point, do you think? So is it 1980? I almost say like 1987.
Anything
Or
with the-
before, it has to be like before 1990 or 1990 even.
anything with the transistor? I don't know.
I mean, you had basically the same stuff. It's just your stuff is
It's just form
lazier
factor.
now.
Well, and that's
Because
kind of
that's
what
all
I mean.
engineering is. I mean, innovation is just taking a concept and just making it easier on people or solving some perceived problem. So you still
Sure,
have a TV, but the
well, that's
TV
kinda my
weighs
point,
like 400 pounds.
That's kind of my point, is how different would life be? You wouldn't have as many choice on some things. You wouldn't have as much convenience with some things. But I don't think it goes too far beyond that unless you want to send everybody back to like the 1800s.
So is your argument that it's easier to be an old person with the technology that we have today? Because it's basically the same, just easier on them? And are they just so curmudgeonous that they don't want to talk to Alexa to order stuff off the internet? They want to do it manually?
I want to call my QVC and order my
There you go. That's the perfect analogy.
QVC
I'd
is my
rather-
Alexa.
It would be interesting to survey, so like our parents' generation, ask, but I think generally what I hear over and over again has to do with a face-to-face interaction, but physical face-to-face and talking to people and having an interface that way. Learning how to, and I'm not even very good at this because I hate the phone. I've always hated the phone, but make a phone call and talk to somebody and get information. So life isn't that different, but there are some things that are not as easy as they are now. And Josh, you were already kind of alluding to that concept about engineering, making things easier and faster.
I mean, I
You know,
have
it's
to
the
go
idea of
into a gas
convenience.
station to pay my bill. I'm not doing that.
Life would suck without Google Maps.
Dude, you know, oh man, I hated that.
Thomas Guide.
Well, see, we are in a weird place in life, I think, compared to our parents who are resistant to it. Well, we're in the fold where you had to use paper maps. And then because technology advanced so fast, there was a very short gray area between a paper map and completely digital reliance on GPS.
Mm-hmm.
So I know how to use a map, and I can look at it and go, man, how did I get anywhere? It's like if you're going to go on vacation, like you had to go to Philadelphia. Like, well, how'd you get to the hotel? Like you had to have someone spell out like turn-by-turn directions on a phone or write them down.
Write it down.
I didn't think it was that difficult, but yeah, I had to write them down. I was usually pretty good at just but I just write a list and okay, I'm gonna follow these directions and I'll get there just fine.
Turn left at this such street, go 300 miles, turn right.
Turn right at the McDonald's.
It was, yeah.
It was
Josh,
like
you
driving by landmarks.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh, you forgot something, though. We know 3 ways. We know how to use a map, we know how to use the Garmin, and we know how to use the Google Maps.
Oh, the TomTom?
Yeah.
The TomTom, yeah.
That thing sucked.
When I got married, one of my good buddies gave me his GPS unit, which I think was one of the first commercial GPS. It was from Garmin that actually had voice navigation. It would actually like read out the directions, and it was it just come out a couple years before that. It was like $1,000 when he bought it, and that was like our wedding. He gave it to me as a wedding present. I couldn't believe he did that. But that's when you actually had to buy like a CD from Garmin to put in your computer and hook up some like proprietary serial port, I think it was, to the device to like update the latest versions of the maps, or else you're gonna like drive off a cliff because that piece of interstate hadn't been built yet. You know what I mean? And you had to subscribe to like their service in order to get the CDs. It was super weird, but yeah, we went through that transition. It's very strange. And I'm also wondering if like the current generation are going to be less, or going to be more directionally challenged, because I know if I GPS somewhere, even to like a friend's house, and I just rely on the GPS, I don't really remember how I went there as well as if I go like, let me try to remember how to get there. And then you take a couple wrong turns, and those wrong turns help cement your path to get there. Like when I was in stationed in Norfolk, I remember like deliberately going down different roads to see how they interconnected with other roads, and you start forming that map in your head, or that network of how everything's interrelated. Even though you could physically see the map, it's one thing to see it, it's another to experience it, firsthand. So I'm interested to see how my kids, if they can kind of drive and like navigate that way without having a digital reference.
The GPS and the maps is one thing, but do you remember it wasn't even that long ago when we didn't have live traffic updates. We could have directions anywhere, but we had no idea what the traffic conditions were.
On your radio, you had helicopter chopper 1 here. Blah, blah,
right,
blah, blah.
But then you had to wait like at the top of the hour for that,
Sure.
That quick 2-minute traffic update. But on our devices for a while, it didn't have live traffic.
Yeah.
That is still fairly new with the last 5 years, roughly, that it was really widely available. Maybe a little bit longer, but probably not much.
Still don't use that.
Usually I know where I'm going, and the traffic doesn't like, ooh, maybe I'll go this weird, crazy way to get around traffic. Like, Then it's a sociology experiment at that point. Like, if everybody diverts from the car accident to the easiest next route, then the easiest next route becomes the traffic jam. And so knowing that doesn't make me any better off, whether or not there's traffic or not. I still got to get to where I'm going. But yeah, you make a good point, because I know how to get there. I don't know the names of the streets. Like, and especially moving here to Kentucky, like this town is really intuitive, and you can kind of remember where to go. But I know Bob's dad, like, oh, just turn down this whatever road, and I'm like, I literally have no clue what road you're talking about, and I have to like describe all these weird looking landmarks. He was like, no, you're nowhere in the realm of what I'm talking about. I'm like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Guess I'll just never get there. But, yeah, I've been looking around the house, Shawn, now that you mentioned that, and I mean, it's little things, and it's little things that it don't make a big impact. They're just uglier in the 80s. Like my thermostat looks like the future, and I can talk to my house to change the thermostat, which is cool. It's completely unnecessary. My TV is like thinner and hanging on the wall, and it's not a giant thing. Again, like that difference is completely unnecessary. It's cooler, it's neater, it makes me lazier. I can fit bigger stuff in my refrigerator than I could back in the day. But I mean,
I think the absence of my smartphone would be have the biggest impact on my day-to-day life, because of the way I get information.
High-speed
And-
internet.
Right. I mean, well,
Internet in general.
it's the phone's connection to the internet, and it's that feed. Yes, it's kind of hard to talk about one without the other. And I looked at when's the last time you guys looked at a newspaper? I looked through a newspaper like a week ago, and I was bored after 5 minutes.
I look at it as I pick it up off my driveway and throw it in the trash.
I saw a USA Today in the hotel lobby. I'm like, oh yeah, a newspaper.
That's quaint.
And I kind of skimmed over the front. I'm like, you guys are stretching to fill the spots on this paper.
I was bored within 5 minutes. I looked at the stories. I'm like, that's all you got?
Yeah.
And I'm so used to reading headline after headline after headline, primarily because of Reddit, and it's kind of an addiction. But I love the feed of information, and I love the variety of information I could get any moment. That going away would actually probably have a pretty big impact on me, because I'm not constantly feeding that that addiction. I guess is really what I'm saying.
What would Mark do? He wouldn't have anything to look at while he's talking to us.
Nothing to type on.
I'm not typing now.
This would be a party line on the telephone, because we wouldn't be able to do this anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be able to broadcast to anybody.
Well, we'd have to record it from the phone, and then
Cassette tape.
Yep.
Cassette
Mail it
tape
out.
it.
Mailing list.
yeah.
We'd have to create like our own Columbia house.
Oh,
Oh man.
they still exist. People still use them.
Yep.
What?
Who was that?
That was not my house.
That was
Not
not
my
me.
house.
Wes is laughing, so that was him.
We have an intercom, and I can hear, like, Grant's room is monitored, so I can hear him talking if he wakes up. Yeah, did you hear what he said?
No.
No.
He said he needs to go potty. Even though he can get up and go by himself. He's never said that before. We'll see what
Nice.
happens.
So I'm trying to think of the things that were like staples in our house or in our childhood that just don't exist anymore. Like sitting around and watching the evening news. Like Peter Jennings, those guys were like the most credible people in the world.
Anything-
Yeah, don't remind
Anything
me.
that I can relate to that would only be like memories of when I lived with my grandparents. And every evening, because they didn't have central air in their house, they had an old black and white TV. We'd take it in the backyard, and we watched TV in the backyard.
That's weird.
And that's
Weird.
it.
That's
With
super
your
weird.
moonshine jugs?
We were in the friggin' South.
Is that what it was like to escape to California?
God. You know what? I'm just going to stop talking.
Were you panning for gold at the same time?
You guys are asses.
It was like 49 or something, right? Yeah.
I'm done. Just talk.
That was good. High five, Wes. Oh, man.
I'm
Like
not even
little
gonna
thing-
ed-
little
not even
things
gonna
like
edit
that.
out.
Like, is QVC still a thing? I know we made a joke about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
is. It is.
Ah.
Where else are old people going to give their
Dude,
money
you should
for
watch it because they're.
useless objects?
I've watched one. Well, when did I watch that? It was over at like a family member's house that had cable. I haven't had cable in like 10 years. So I haven't seen it personally at my house for a long time. But yeah, watching the stuff they sell on there is absolutely ludicrous. They'll sell like little tablets that are like clearly like several generations old. Like, oh, it's got Android, Marshmallow or whatever, like whatever the old ones are.
It's
It's
treated
got
like a
Kit Kat
surplus
on it.
store.
Yeah, it's just like, what?
Comes preloaded with pictures of your grandkids.
And they're clearly marketing to old people. I mean, even the commercials that are played in between, like the QVC spots, I mean, it's like AARP commercials. So besides Shawn, I don't know who else they would market to.
Oh God! It is
You know what?
just your night.
I
in
saw
the
the one
barrel,
coming from a
man.
mile away, so it didn't bother me as much.
You had your spectacles on. Yeah,
So
that was
South
the easy
Park
layup.
episode, though.
But Jeopardy has made the move away from TV because you can play that on Echo. Like,
Catherine still likes watching that. She's every once in a while she'll fall into that thing where she'll have the news on,
Mhm.
and then she'll watch Jeopardy afterwards. And I know she got that from her parents, but
I would love to watch Jeopardy.
the news is often so
Weak.
it's so disheartening and not kid friendly, honestly, for a lot of the stuff that they show on
Another
there.
gunshot victim.
Talk about Then we're like, oh, we're not watching that.
What else? Oh, the other day, I was talking to Bob about something, and I wanted to go to Blockbuster.
Do you still
Like-
have one?
No, but I wanted to go. It was one of those moments. I'm like, man, I really want to I want to go peruse around Blockbuster right now, because everything, all the older movies, and even newer movies, okay, but like older classic movies, you have access to. Like Redbox doesn't have them. It's hit or miss whether or not your streaming services have them. But I can go peruse around Blockbuster, and I really wanted to go.
Yeah.
But you can't. And I mean, that's okay. But it was one of those staples, like when I was younger. I'm sure when you guys were younger too, like on Fridays
Go
or
rent
whatever.
some video games. Yep.
Everybody go rent a movie or a video game. And I mean, you can kind of do that. But you end up watching the same damn Moana video over and over again because it's right there at the top of the list. And so you don't get to get outside of that comfortable bubble, your suggested video watching.
Yeah.
And try something completely new or something classic, because their classic collection is.
I think Netflix's interface is still, like, the filtering is still terrible for finding stuff that I want to see.
It is interesting how limited our choices actually are right now. I don't think we actively realize it at times, because we could look at Amazon or Hulu or Netflix or anything on YouTube. But it is still, fairly limited.
You have unlimited access to what they give you.
Yeah.
To where Blockbuster didn't care. Blockbuster had everything. It had 5,000 square feet. Cinema
Including
history.
late fees.
So I don't know what else. So now I'm starting. See, this whole topic took a turn where I was just going to make fun of my dad, and now I'm starting to empathize with him.
Man, those laundromats. You guys ever have to use one of those growing up?
Yeah, when I moved out on my own.
Yep.
Is your washboard broke?
Yeah, he didn't have any rocks big enough down by the creek.
That was kind of weak.
Sorry.
That was weak.
I had to use a laundromat when we lived in the RV, so I had to use a laundromat later in life than I did earlier. So it was.
Did you interact with a different class of people than you normally would interact with?
I don't interact with people, let alone strangers when I got my underwear in my hand. No.
Would you be in the same space? I mean, you could still not interact, but you would
Oh, I think I get what you're saying.
you would be exposed to people that normally you wouldn't be. Not that kind of exposed, Josh. Not with your underwear.
That's when I used to hit on girls.
But like, it's easy to like fall into like a thing where like Dr. Horrible, right? Where you kind of forget how other people live. I guess I don't know. Not to be negative, but
I guess it depends on what laundromat you go to, though. As well.
what part of the city and whatnot. Yeah,
I don't think there's really like an upscale laundromat.
maybe there should be.
There is in some hipster areas. There's a lot of
They sell
like,
espresso and wine.
downtown areas that are a little bit more that way.
Wi-Fi.
It's way more expensive than I thought it was. Like, and it was like, who has quarters? And the quarter machine, like the couple times I went, like half of the quarter machines that were in there weren't working. And it was either like a piece of tape or you just had to find out. And some person that had been there a lot of times, like, oh, that one doesn't work. It was way more expensive than I thought washing clothes would be.
Payphones. Had to make a call. You're out and about. Oh, I gotta find a payphone. Where's there one? Oh, I don't remember.
I saw something weird the other weekend. I went to the beach, and they had the old like meter for the parking meters,
Mhm.
and then I'm looking to pay. I'm like, I need. Wait a minute. They retrofitted it to take credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
Smart.
So, so it was the first time I've ever seen it. I was like, wait, this is the old one. This isn't a new one. They got credit cards
Are
on
they
the
the
old
ones you can
Holy-
top up with your cell phone while you're still in the restaurant?
No,
'Cause I've seen
No,
those
we don't-
about. Those are
we
nice.
don't have
That's
that.
clever.
That's cool. No, I do like those, but I haven't seen those.
They're not
yet.
widely available, but some municipalities have them. Like Virginia Beach has that. I was like, oh crap, we're gonna be here another 30 minutes. Boop boop boop. Done. Very cool.
See, but even
The way it
payphones
should
like
be.
had that same plight that you do now. Like you never had money when you needed to use a payphone.
It's true.
You never had coins, and so
That's when you collect call.
you use the 1-800 collect. You're like, I'm at the gas station. Please come get me.
I watch Carrot Top. This is what you do.
After the tone, please say your name. You know who I am. Come get me. And you know when they decline the call, they'll be on their way soon. That's how that worked. Even that, like 1-800 numbers.
1-900 numbers. The internet has completely eradicated those.
Or like knowing someone's phone number.
Mhm.
I still memorize all the numbers I usually call. I actually don't like dialing it. Or I don't like using just the button, the contact. I will actually still dial the number.
Mm.
I
Nope.
know a couple. Everyone else, I just look for the name.
I think I know my dad's house because I had to know it when I was a kid. And my wife's because her number is just like 2 chronological digits higher than my phone number. And that's it.
How about using encyclopedia instead of the internet to look up crap? Did you guys ever have an encyclopedia at your house growing up?
Yes.
Or your grandparents?
We weren't that fancy.
I think I've talked about this before. I grew up with my have I said this? I grew up with my grandparents, and they had a encyclopedia set from like 1967, and so I had to do a report on some NASA crap. So I looked up the moon landing. It's not in there. What the hell?
Because it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah. True story.
I had the same thing. I had to do a report on red wolves. And so I looked it up in the encyclopedia, and it was like variant of gray wolf. That was it. I was like, well, okay. Guess
That
I'm
was
not
always a
getting
pain with the
good grade on this one.
encyclopedia. Yeah.
Here's your report.
I was trying to find the most updated one. And I remember at one point I was trying to convince my parents to buy a set of the World Book encyclopedias. It was like $1,000 for the set.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Legit.
And it was only for that 1 year.
It's a lot of leather.
A lot of leather.
Oh, there's another thing from back in the day that has been revitalized to modern times is that school that we went to. So that school is pretty much, it's not like a trade school, but it's a school for like adult education that's very specific. So they taught like medical billing and dental
Votech.
assistants and yeah. And so I was like reading all the placards on the walls as to all the stuff they taught, and I had that like Sally Struthers like commercial thing brought through my head. Like if you're interested in TV VCR repair, child daycare, computer
Oh,
programming, like all those things came running through. I'm like, this is the transition of the Sally Struthers like correspondence courses from back in the day. Like, it was nicer. Seemed to have more credit. Sean's trying to talk to us, but he can't figure out which button it is. It's the talkie button.
You gotta crank it first.
Too many buttons down here. No, I just talked about the episode. You know, Josh already alluded to this. Said the episode took a turn because we were planning on basically making fun of our parents, but now we sound like kind of the old ones, remembering back in the day.
Full circle.
Is it better or is it just different?
It's just different.
Is it progress? Like, how are we defining progress at this point? Since we've been able to see the complete difference in the things that we've talked about.
Doing things better and faster and cheaper.
I guess cheaper would be interesting to note. like how much my parents paid for a TV. Or
That's
like,
pretty
I
easy
can.
to
I
figure
mean. I
out.
mean, that's you can look at that right now. When I first bought my house, we got a new TV and we paid $2,400 some odd dollars for a 46-inch TV, and now it's under $1,000.
yeah.
Yeah, even if you like take away the difference of inflation, then there's still a big variance in the cost of a lot of those things.
Josh, your original question was like if things are better, right? Is that what you're
Yeah, like
turning at?
is it better? Even that is a very subjective question, but
It is, and it's really hard to answer because I couldn't just simply say yes or no. Some things yes, some things no. I think communication is better. I think communication is simpler. I think communication is more efficient. Whether or not the quality of the communication is as good is a completely different topic. But I talk to people more now, and a lot more people than I ever would have before. And partially because I hate the phone. I just don't. As much as like my grandparents and my parents gave me a hard time for, all this internet stuff and Skype and texting, I think the phone is just as impersonal of only hearing a voice, because I can never focus on just somebody's conversation, and my attention will always be elsewhere. So I think that communication is better now for a lot of different reasons and the convenience of it. I could send somebody a text, and I know that they'll get back to me when they can. And it's a lot easier to kind of get back and forth that way than waiting for a phone call and having to listen to an answering machine and they call them back and hoping that you caught them. I remember that my parents were resistant to answering machines for years and years and years. And this is through the mid to late 90s. In the mid 90s, I was applying for jobs and I was getting calls for interviews, but I didn't have an answering machine. I couldn't get their call and I couldn't call them back. And my parents refused to even let me buy it and put it at the house. So
That's messed up.
yeah, I mean, I lost out on a lot of jobs. So I think communication's better. But I don't know if there's, well, actually, I think the flow of information is better too, although, all the problems that we have with trying to quantify or qualify what is good information versus bad information. But I think the access to information is good. I just think we have to be a little bit smarter in terms of education of being able to dig through all the crap to get to some quality things. The cost of information and getting that information is much lower than it ever was before. It's more equitable than it has been before. Entertainment is cheaper and more abundant than it ever has been before.
Some movie tickets, probably.
Yeah, but I'll balance that against Netflix and Hulu and other forms of entertainment that way. Although I still enjoy the theater experience above all of them. I think most things are better, but in some ways, I don't think the quality of life is any better, which is really strange. I think that I'm more stretched. I feel more neurotic than my parents ever appeared to be in terms of things that they had to do. I feel more run down because of everything that we're expected to keep up with. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it to go that direction, but yeah.
See, now you got me thinking deeper.
Yep.
Might have to do
So
a
I think
part
that
two.
I think it's a lifestyle choice, though. Because, I mean, whenever we downsized and we made all those decisions and now we're here, I think things are simpler, in my opinion, than they were a long time ago. But my dad was super stressed at his job and he couldn't stand it and he hated it, but he did it because he had to. And so, I mean, that was in the 80s and 90s. And now we made the choice to do something different. And now stuff is great. Like, I've been probably the least stressed that I've been in a very long time just because of lifestyle choice. And because, I don't know, I'm not saying that technology is making me happier, but since we came into the house and I've got to have all these like amenities, these Internet of Things, like it really is super convenient. And it's convenient in ways that I didn't understand because I was never exposed to it. and I just didn't know. And I like it. I think things are better. I think things are better because, I mean, things are more convenient. Things are more accessible. I think it takes some of the stress out when you don't have to worry about so many things. You can program something and you can set it to your likings or to your desires and you can forget it. And if it's not that way, you can take a couple seconds and a device that you probably have really, really close to you and alter it and then get back with your day. Like things are in the background a lot more than I think they used to be. And you just don't, I don't have as many things to care about because it's being handled. You guys got anything else on this? Sorry, Dad. Set out to laugh at you and I failed.
You guys geeking out about anything?
How to Train Your Dragon 3 trailer. Unless I said that last week, I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
I'm geeking out about all the games that were just shown at E3 that I will never have time to play. So I'll just kind of enjoy the trailers and move on from there.
I wish I could say the same for Nintendo. Super lame.
Deacon snuck on my phone the other day and told me about a Mega Man update. Did you see that? I haven't watched it.
I've been seeing that for a while. They're supposed to be doing like a I don't know if this is the same thing, like a 30th anniversary where it's every game. Which I'm all about Mega Man. He can do whatever he wants. I'm happy with it. I still remember the code for Mega Man 2.
All those little dots, the dot matrix.
Yeah, the thing's burned into my brain until the day I die. I'm gonna leave it on pieces of paper in my deathbed just so people can figure it out.
Nice.
Mega Man 2, what the hell is
It's like
this?
Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
How about you, Wes? Geeking out about anything?
Not particularly, unfortunately. It's been a slow week for that. There's an update for the Rabbids game for the Switch, the Mario Rabbids Battle Kingdom or whatever. Looks fun, but that's
There's
really
an update to it? It's like Deacon's favorite game.
Really? Yeah, there's several DLCs that have come out, and there's a new one coming out that has Donkey Kong and Cranky Kong and some other Donkey Kong characters, and it looks pretty hilarious. So. And they said it's equivalent to the content of half of the original game. Like, that's a lot of stuff. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. New ways to play, new types of enemies, and
the Rabbids are basically angry minions, right?
yeah, I could see that.
See, I'm geeking out over a new puppy that we just got.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Oh, that's right. Congrats.
Yeah, he's over there. He's super chill. Like, we've always had boxers, and then their puppy stage in a boxer is just this neurotic little tornado. But this little guy, it's a beagle, and I think a Jack Russell mix. He looks like a beagle. I named him Buckley after the Royal Tenenbaums, if anybody's seen that movie. But he's super cool. He's little, and he goes to bed, and he doesn't pee in the house. I like him.
It's a very important trait.
Yeah, and he's really easy, and it's strange. Like, I thought I was going to have to do a lot more work, and we were going to have to tend to him a lot more than he does. And we do. We're responsible pet owners, but I think we are over-prepared. And he's just, like, looking at us like, what? You guys want to hang out on the couch and cuddle? Yes, that is what I want to do.
Come, little puppy.
He's like, do you want me to chew on the toy that I got at the animal shelter and nothing else? No socks or no dolls? Yes.
Actually, I'll backpedal a little bit on my geeking out. I just remembered. I mentioned it earlier, but I forgot. I've got a 20-year high school reunion. It's not the full high school. It's actually, there was a portion of the high school there's like another program that they offered at the high school for juniors and seniors where you could, like, for the first half of the day, you would hop on a bus before all the other buses got to the high school, and they would drive you and other people that were in this program to the closest community college, which in that part of Virginia was like 40 minutes away. You would take actual classes at the community college that were full college credit of like biology and chemistry and physics and other things that they were just like a higher level tier than what they offered at high school.
Dual enrollment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was called Governor School in Virginia, at least. And that's actually how I met Catherine. She was enrolled in that. And a friend of mine, I didn't know about it until the senior year. You're supposed to get in as a junior, or before you were a junior, you were supposed to be picked. And then you go through your junior and senior years through there, like the first half of the day. You come back after a couple classes, and then you have lunch at the school, and then you do your last couple of days, and you go home. And so I kind of started doing that at the beginning of my senior year, and that's how I got to know her and stuff, and on the bus ride there and back. And so it's like a formative group of us, basically. And up until now, I think we're still the only couple that met and married from that group, which is kind of neat. And I haven't seen most of them since I graduated. So there's probably about 10 of us going to meet up at a restaurant near that community college, and we're going to hang out. So it should be interesting.
Cool.
Nice.
It's neat to see how people change and didn't change. I'm sure it's not as revolutionary now with Facebook because you kind of sort of can keep tabs on people, even though you're not like super connected in an audible way, but you still can see what they kind of have, like a Cliff Notes version of what they've been up to in a way. But should be neat.
Very cool. Well, we'd love to hear from all of you. Go ahead and visit our website, makinggeeks.com. Check out the contact page, and right there on that page, you can send us questions, suggestions for the show, anything that you like. And on the homepage of the site, you can listen to all of our past episodes and check out all of our past guests that we've had on the show. And if I'm not mistaken, we have a pretty cool guest that is potentially scheduled in the next week or so. So make sure that you keep an ear out for that. All on makinggeeks.com.
And you can find us across all the social medias. You can find us on Instagram at Making Geeks Podcast, on Twitter and Facebook at Making Geeks.
And we'd like to thank our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks for helping to keep the lights on. And yes, I did pay the updated domain name registry, so we're back online. The lights are still on.
Yay!
Thank you guys for that. And if you'd like to help me remember to pay our bills, head over to patreon.com/makinggeeks. And before we go out, I'd also like to give a shout out to Ben_Builder on Instagram. He recently got a hold of me and shared some awesome thoughts about our podcast, and I sent him a bunch of our stickers. He's actually a listener in France, so that's kind of cool. I got you covered, Josh. I took one of the ones, the one last sticker that you gave me when we met up in Georgia, when our families met for the first time. I sent that one to him.
Oh.
So Ben, you've got an extra special sticker there. It was the last of the first run of your stickers, right?
Yep.
Yep. Boom. So collectibles. So I sent all of them. I had one of yours, Shawn, as well. And so just a shout out for him. Thanks for listening in France. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Sweet. If you want to find out more about us individually, you can find Mark's work at asylum-3d.com. Sorry. Find Shawn at geekbuilders.net. Find Wes at geeksmithing.com. And you can find my work at thepiworkshop.com. I'd like to thank everybody for hanging out with us this week. This weird pseudo trip down memory lane. We got in the Wayback Machine and just went all over the place. So thanks for hanging out with us and traveling down this semi-nostalgic, semi-curmudgeon type journey. But we hope you stick around every week. Every Saturday, a new episode is released. And from all of us here, we hope you have a fantastic week.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Stay cool, folks. Mark, you didn't say your part, did you?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Where the hell was I?
Alzheimer's.
Man, I must have went somewhere.
That's too
Thinking
easy of a
about
joke.
this
I'm not.
sandwich I had last week.
I'm not gonna even do it.
Okay. But I gotta get to bed. I'm
Later,
dying.
buddy. See ya.
See you guys
All right.
later.
I should go to bed. Yeah, we didn't get a video put out earlier today because we're waiting on stinking sponsors to approve stuff again.
Yeah, because I noticed that today's video didn't have a sponsor, right? The bird feeder.
Yeah, it was supposed to. But by the time I left today, they still hadn't said yes or no. I had to leave early and come watch kids. Excuse me. So I think the podcast that Bob and I were talking about doing is maybe going to happen soon. We may record one and just kind of wait to put it out since I have all those snapshots. But we've been talking about logos and stuff like that. And kind of want to keep you guys informed. Again, it's not going to replace anything, but
Yeah.
Wes, you're likely going to be on the show.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I would love well, I mentioned this to Bob in passing one time, but it never quite worked out. I thought it'd be funny to do some sort of cameo, like on the live stream, since I'm often in the chat room anyways. I think that'd be cool for me to be a side room and like I'll order like pizza for delivery, but I'll be the guy that like shows up. Like the delivery guy, I'll just like act like I'm a delivery guy sitting down, and then people will figure out it's me or something. I don't know. It'd be kind of neat.
That'd be cool.
Since
There's one thing I've learned about Bob.
Yeah. He doesn't like
If you go
surprises.
hey man, you go, hey man, this will be funny, and he'll giggle about it, and then just like quietly walk away. Because like when you watch Scrubs, like how Zach Braff and like his character, how his mind works. That's how my mind works.
Yeah.
With like a little sentence is uttered, and then I have this really funny scenario that plays out in my head, and that's where it just has to live. Because I'm like, oh man, we should do it like this, and he's like, oh, that would be funny.
Nope.
Wes, are you going to be in the area? Is that why?
Oh yeah.
Why?
Oh yeah, he's coming to hang out in October.
October. Yeah. So Samantha has a track out during like the first 3 weeks in October. We're gonna try to work it out this summer, but our July is completely packed. That's when her other break is, and you guys are busy over the 4th or whatever. So that was the next opportunity. We'll overstay our welcome. So we're thinking like a week or something like that, just to make it worth the drive. So.
Cool.
Catherine may have to work like a day or two, like remotely, if that's cool as well.
I'll have to work.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll bring something to make at your house.
Cool.
I'll take over
Something
your
needs
shop.
to get made out there. I have a couple pens I have to make, and I just got all the pieces in yesterday.
Do you have any 3D printers at your house right now? Or are they all at Bob's?
I've got the Prusa.
Oh.
It's in the house. Stupid thing. I think I've got an order of Matter Hackers filament that's showing up. I think I'm done with Maker Geeks filament.
Yeah? Not good? Or they don't ship them in time, or what?
The last order shipped okay. But I don't know. It's just